Change your mind, change your money, change your life. I am Coach Rob Lee Simmons, the host of this podcast, and let me be your tour guide to greatness. If I was doing any better, I would be you. Welcome to the Greatness Academy podcast. I am back. I had her on before, and she was so legendary, I had to bring her back. Coach Mo Pettus, welcome back to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Coach Mo. So, hey, we had a great conversation last time, and I kind of want to pick up where we left off. We had a little bit focus on kids transitioning to college, and we were kind of getting into the NIL deal. So I kind of want to open up and say that I think the transitional period for athletes to be able to own their name, image, and likeness, but how do we as educators help these kids capitalize on that ability to do so nowadays?
So, like outside of just like basketball, I think this definitely starts in school. And I think me and you and Khaleesi have had conversations about just public school and what that looks like.
Right.
But just in the world that we live in right now, these kids need to be taught business savvy and just entrepreneurship in general. Because when they go out into the world, that is what they are going to be met with first. So I think like at the school level, we need to start building curriculums and instituting classes that have those elements in it so that they are ready to accept those things when they get out into the world. As far as basketball is concerned, as a coach at this point, if you're not teaching the business of the game, you are losing terribly. First and foremost, college is a business. No matter how you slice it, even before NIL, it is a business. Everything that you do as a player affects your coach's job. So
Mm-hmm.
it is a business. So when you have things that you have to go to, like workouts, films, study hall, travel, whatever it is, you're expected to be there because essentially you're getting paid. And this generation of kids, you're actually really getting paid.
For sure.
So, like when you start dealing with money, these kids are dealing with money on a large scale. I'm not talking about a Pell Grant. I'm talking about, I think I saw Angel Reese's NIL deals all together added up to like $1.2 million.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Real
when you
money.
talk, yeah, you've got to start talking about taxes. You've got to start talking about bank accounts, investments, residual income, because now these kids, if she keeps with her trajectory in terms of monetarily, shoot, she be what 6 million by the time she graduate.
Yeah, because
Six
she's
million
only
by
a
the time
freshman or sophomore.
sophomore. So about what almost 5 million before you ever even go into the world. So imagine like what type of mistakes you make if you don't have that body of knowledge. You know what I mean? So I think it's like twofold.
So how do you think NILs have changed the game for coaches? And then I just think thinking back like Coach Cal, Kentucky coach, was kind of ahead of his time because he always approached college basketball as a business, and his approach was, "Hey, if you want to get to the NBA, you come in here, you be one step away." But now we're able to not only kind of remove the middleman from getting to the NBA, but hell, you can get paid right now. How that change the game?
I mean, first and foremost, like you ain't looking at no scrubs. This is not an opportunity for you to build a player or A&R a player. It's not. Where before, like when I came out of school, so like 2004, right? Women's basketball, for example, is just it's regular degular. You're not dealing with real money. You're not really dealing with superstars on a large scale. It's few and far between, right?
Right.
So as a coach, you had time to take the freshman and sophomore year to like build players into your program or your system. Now, no, because to be honest, they're gonna go to the highest bidder. And it's just as simple as that. So you have got to like build your program in a way that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with building any player, unless it's building their knowledge of the business. I think coaches now have to think about the intangibles of coaching way more than the X's and O's, like marketing, how are you attracting people to your program? And then like on an AAU level, grassroots, like it's gonna be cut out at some point because now we're talking about competitive basketball all the time.
all the
So
time.
I think like it's gonna change the game, like all levels, but I think it's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing.
No, I agree with you. I want to make a correction. So Angel Reese is actually going into her senior year.
Senior
So
year.
like yeah, so last year was her junior year. Um, but yeah, no, very interesting perspective. I think even so, there's a point in time where coaches have to be able to capitalize on the fact that I can now help this person become a good person because we're really talking about your name, image, and your likeness, not
Mm-hmm.
just the person that's in front of you on a camera, but your
Right.
personality, right? So, you know, staying out of trouble, staying out of jail, staying off the news, like really important to your NIL. It really is because that's what the companies are looking for. Companies not looking for people drunk driving, flipping cars, and going to jail, right? And
Right.
so that helps coaches kind of ring back in uh, their uh, their student athletes. But can you share some insight into the level of awareness that your student athletes currently have about NIL opportunities?
First and foremost, social media is honestly like the biggest thing because social media, number one, we all have it. Number two, this is also a method by which coaches recruit kids. And then number three, it's just like it's so accessible to the rest of the world. So we always start with social media, cleaning up the kids' social media and like what you want to portray. Because at the end of the day, if you want a coach to come on your social media, and recruit you or have all of these because you also have these entities where your highlights can be on other people's platforms that are pretty big so that you can
Mm-hmm.
get noticed as well. What do you want them to see? You know what I mean? When I go to a person's basketball page, I expect to see basketball. You know what I mean? If I go to athlete's page, I don't expect to see all of those things that you are talking about. Now, obviously, kids have a real life, but if you're talking about smoking, drinking, partying, like coaches don't want to see that because now you are a real live investment. And on top of that, you're investing in yourself too. So you could really, like, your social media could keep you from opportunities. Forget somebody coming to get you, but just like you limiting your own opportunities. So we definitely started social media. The other part of it is just like the off the floor character things that you have to do anyway, right? Like making sure that they understands like competence, that they understand things like how you speak, how you dress, how you approach people, what conversations should look like. Because when you talk about NIL, you're talking about business deals. You're not well spoken, your talent is only going to take you so far. So that's the other piece. And then really the last piece is just like um talking to them about money and making sure that they have some type of financial literacy. So we definitely talk about taxes. We in terms of basketball, like off the floor stuff, like taxes, investment, um, obviously NIL. And also just like what does your life look like outside of basketball when you go into a job and how are you gonna be able to funnel your money around? So like three buckets.
Yeah, that's real. And uh, me as a financial educator, I think it's huge to have some level of financial literacy. But as I continue to educate myself, I found that there's another level of literacy, right? So because you just break it down, right? So like in regular people terms, you have financial literacy, and that
Mhm.
financial literacy is just the ability to uh understand and use your money, right? And that's just the same thing as a sixth grader being able to read. He can read, he's illiterate, right? Then the next level would be financial intelligence, right? Financial
Mhm.
intelligence is now I've taken it to another level to be able to use that money to make money. This is when you start to create generational wealth. Um, how important do you think it is for these kids to find financial mentors in the aspect of, get into the second step of past financial literacy into financial intelligence?
It's super important because how do you navigate something you've never been a part of?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, when you get a mentor, let me be very clear, and I don't mean to be mean or come off rude, but you need to get somebody who's been successful in money.
Oh,
A
yeah, that's
broke
good.
person or a person who has bad business savvy, I would never listen to you because, like, how can you tell me where to go and you have not been successful going there
That's
yourself?
good.
So I think that you need to research who you want your mentor to be. Um, for me, all of my mentors who are coaches are also people who are in business. That is not by default. That's by design because I have to be a businesswoman myself to create the kind of wealth that it's going to take for me to just like sustain my family life. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, for
So,
sure.
um, once they get a mentor, I think the things that you definitely need to be looking for in terms of getting past the financial literacy pieces to see what tangible items has this person acquired and like what does it look like for them? How is it working out for them? We always talk about Coach Burt, but if you get on his podcast in the morning and on Sunday night, um, he's not just talking about character things. He is literally breaking down how he took his money and put it in other places to get the things that he absolutely wanted. So, like when I look at a mentor who talks about finances, this man has a multi-million-dollar business, right? So he's obviously figured out how to make his money work past the financial literacy part because if you listen to the things that he's saying, he's talking about starting businesses for his kids already. His
Mm,
kids are less than 10 years old.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Him and his wife have a money ministry. So he took his talents and married her talents. And now she gets to do that same thing, but from her level of passion, right? So when his kids look at the family dynamics, it's not just dad, okay? And
Right.
it's not just basketball or life coaching. Now we have the businesses my kids want, right? Now we have the businesses my wife has, right? And then also seeing that they're creating trees and how that actually matriculates back to them. So, like now, Coach Burt could probably do nothing and still be eating from the fruits of the seeds that he planted from being literate and crossing over to like intelligence. Because intelligence means that you've learned how to make your money work for you,
Oh,
right?
yeah, for sure.
It's not the foundational pieces. It's the, oh, I know what buttons to press type person. And I literally do nothing because I've already laid the foundational pieces. So I think like you have to get somebody who's already done it or you can really see the process of them doing it for sure.
Yeah, that I mean, I think it's a crucial piece of it. And let me transition a little bit. I think understanding the money from the business aspect is so important because when you understand how to make your money make money, you can step away from work, and just as you explained, Coach Burt basically planting the seed. Now, it's just like a farmer. If you a farmer, you plant a seed, right? The seed gonna grow. The seed gonna produce seeds, and you just put the seeds back
Right.
in the ground, they grow again. It's rinse and repeat. I think it's very important to take the opportunity, right, to learn this because if you don't, if you don't plant the seed, you're gonna be at the grocery store, and we already know what that means. Price is going up, and then
Man,
you can't really reproduce what you need to do.
right.
Um, so let's take a step back and looking at NIL deals and just look at college as a business opportunity. Even uh, with students going into college, how does having an NIL deal or not having an NIL deal affect where they go to college?
I think that like when you're talking about these high level players, like players who we would put like, because for me there's like classes of players. It's like A class, B class, C class, right? So like A class is gonna be elite, B class gonna be your middle of the road, and then the C class is really gonna be like your JUCOs D2 kids, right? I think that kids choose schools based on how much money that they are going to reasonably get. Or are there other kids on in the program who have deals that essentially they got to get seen too, like that I could capitalize off of. I don't even think that people are looking at like how much am I going to get on the floor. Like I really don't. Look at LSU, right? Look at LSU women's basketball in the off season. Soon as the season was over, they got two big time players, right? And I'm talking about A-list players who are willing to go to a team full of just, I mean, incredible players because in reality, they looking at that money. They looking at forget Angel Reese because we know Angel Reese. Look at Flage. Just I've been watching her social media like after the championship. She in basketball, but like now she's able to capitalize off her music. Um, she's becoming a person in the community that people can come to financially. I saw where she gave $10,000. She's going to be a sophomore to her school, her high school. You know what I'm saying? So like,
It's amazing.
I I think kids are going to school for business purposes if they come from the A or B bucket, right? If you come from the C bucket, NIL, in my eyes, don't really apply to you.
Mm.
Not on a large scale. Now, if you teach them those business savvy ways, like to me, the C bucket kids are the master P kids, right? Like those are the
Right.
ones who are going to have to really get on the ground and do the work because your platform is a little bit different than like an Angel Reese. So even with the C bucket players, you got to teach them really like, what does this look like for you? Like what type of um, what type of things do you need to be put into place for you to capitalize off of NIL, knowing that you have a smaller platform? So, like when kids go to school, they want to know if they coach is business savvy at this point. They want to know what type of connections they coach have. They want to know the players' connections. I mean, forget is it a good school? Like, what kind of cafeteria do they have? I
Right.
mean, I'm researching my coach's business savvy.
Yeah,
Simple
like
as
what
that.
else do he got? What else can he bring to the table that I can leverage? And I think that's a good segue into the next question. So like how do you balance the importance of education and then personal development when somebody's more specifically when a student athlete is pursuing a NIL opportunity?
Truth is, in 2023, that's what we need to be talking about anyway. That is the ways of the world. Like one of the things that we've been talking to, like the school that I teach at right now, um, our population is like 90% Hispanic, and then the other part is like Middle Eastern, Pacific Islander, right?
Mm.
Egyptian. I have kids who have food trucks. When we have events for incentives, they pull up in their food truck and
I
sell their
love it.
food. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like our level of conversation to people who are non-athletes are driven by business. The classes, they have seminar classes all 4 years of school. And in those seminar classes, they are simply learning business and employment, right? So they're learning resume, the foundational pieces, resume, interviews, right? When they're like freshmen. But by the time that they are seniors, they are learning complete entrepreneurship skills at the school that I teach at. So it's like, forget being an athlete. That is the world today. These kids don't get up and say, "Ooh, I want to go to USC to be in a frat." They wake up and say, "Ooh, let me see what posts I can put on social media so I can see what's in my account today.
Yeah.
Let me see what investments I can make from my crypto to see what's going to be in my bank account today." Right? So to me, this isn't even like a athletic thing. At this point, we are transitioning into this being a world thing because the world is changing. Now, because I'm a coach, like, man, it used to be like the people who we would come and talk, have the kids be talked to or invite in would simply be people from sports, right?
Right.
Coaches, former players. Man, no. We having people from cone heads, all right, coming and talking. Coach Bird, not coming to talk to them about basketball. He coming to talk about, I want you to talk about the greatness factory.
Oh
And
yeah.
I want you to talk about what it's like to be able to be independent and how much money you make each month, right? So like it even changes who you have around
Yeah.
like these kids. So I really don't believe in my heart that it's just an athletic thing. I think we're transitioning at this point to being part of just life and what we're teaching kids like in regular school.
So this comes down to a little bit more difficult part because I mean, you know, these kids are business savvy
Hmm.
and they understand, you know, how to get to the bag. The question is, with the emphasis on business and business structure and the potential to earn income, how do you teach teamwork within that scope?
In terms of business,
Yeah, for sure. For in business and sports, how do you transition the kids to understand? Hey, uh, basketball is like business. Business and basketball, you need teamwork.
I think just like, you know, for us, teaching kids that success can't come in a vacuum.
Mm,
Like, no matter how people frame it when they say, like, I'm independent, there I met not one person who don't have somebody helping them in some type of way. Like it's impossible. Like you didn't just wake up and have knowledge, or you just didn't wake up and have resources. You've had to learn how to work with people to get the things that you want.
for
So
sure.
I think like continuing to teach like just regular team dynamics from sport, right? So when you talk about things like um what does it take for to have a good team? Like first and foremost, talent. I'm gonna be honest. Like you want to play with people who, if they don't possess the talent already, want to go out and work to enhance their talent. Um, Also, just like understanding people's abilities. So, like on a team, you have to teach kids like the roles of different people on your team. And I think that in business, people have to know what role they play in the company and play that role well, right?
Right.
In a team dynamic, we teach them like if you have a kid who's like a great defender, right? I don't try to make them into Steph Curry. I take that talent and I say, you be the best damn defensive player that the world ever seen, right? Because if you're the best defender and we got the best offensive player and we got the best coach, like how can we lose? So
Exactly.
I think like understanding that, and also I think one element that's left out of business and the team dynamics that I think, because I think we talk about how to get to the bag and how to chase the bag, but we don't talk about how to keep it
Keep the
once you
bag.
get it. Mhm.
Yeah. I
So
love it.
like I think that you also need to be thinking about like how do you build like, from a basketball standpoint, not a team but a program.
Oh
How
yeah.
do I have not plays but I have a system, right?
Mm,
You teach that already in basketball, right? Um when I listen to coaches and they be like, we running plays, I'd be like, oh, you're gonna be easy to beat because you don't have a system.
exactly.
The kids have not bought into something. You've taken these one-off things and threw it at the wall and hoped that it worked for whatever situation. But the great coaches, they don't give a damn. They run their system and they have figured out a way. So from a business standpoint, that's what business models are, right? Even if you look at scandalous businesses,
Hmm.
they have figured out a system to work and people play their role so well. Um, I'm using this example because I'm a history person and I'm down a rabbit hole, but
I love it.
Purdue Farm,
Mm,
Purdue Pharma, I'm like obsessed with this at this point, which is the company that made OxyContin, right?
mm,
Richard Sackler and the Sackler family, right? So this would be like a scandalous business. But if you're talking about in the dynamics of a team and a successful business, they had all the elements, right? Everybody knew their role and they played it well and they were cool with playing it because they got the benefits, right? So
hmm.
when we teach the team dynamic and people play the role well and we have success, oh, I don't care about just being a rebounder because guess what? I'm getting that ring too, no matter what my role is. So
Exactly.
Purdue Pharma, like, no matter what role they played in the company, they were billionaires, right? The other part is just like in a business model in terms of teamwork, like you want to know what you're getting successful from the system that you're running. When I think about Purdue Pharma, no matter how you like to cut or slice it, they made billions. They were making a billion a week at one point. Think about that.
That's
A
insane.
billion a week. Scandalous business. But if you look at their business model, you had the salespeople, right, who were taught what to say, how to say it, right? And they indoctrinated and had them buy into the business model. So even when those people knew, this look a little spooky, they were so indoctrinated with what they had been taught, they kept doing it
Mm-hmm.
because they were getting the money, right? Ain't that what we do in sports? People are going to listen to the coach from LSU because she's been successful at Baylor and now she's successful at LSU. So they don't give a damn what it takes to get to that point. They know that it's successful, right? Purdue Pharma, if you look at the structure of the business, even up top, the president, he over here, he delegating. Isn't that business? When you're the CEO, you're not doing ground level work. You're delegating to those people on a team. What a coach do? Delegate
For
responsibilities.
sure.
What does a point guard do in a game? Facilitate the game. So it's like what you really have to do is take business and break it down to your athlete in athletic terms so they understand that the things that you're doing in basketball, how does this feed into business? If I don't ever play basketball again, how can I take what I'm learning here
Mm-hmm.
and translate it here,
Yeah.
right? Like on a team dynamic, you always have to do that. We know who the role players are. We know who the big money is. Uh, like protecting the brand or protecting your face. We had Crystal Horton, right? We didn't let nothing happen to her. You can't fight her. You can't cuss her out.
Yeah.
You can't do nothing because that's our money bag. If we lose her, even if we have a great system, it's gonna be a detriment to our program, right?
Right.
What do we tell people in business? Protect the brand, protect the bag. Don't do anything that is going to affect our our cash cow. So, like, translate those things into business so the kids can understand.
Oh, that's good. So before we get out of here, let's talk to the parents a little bit. What are the parents' responsibilities in providing this information and education to their kids, and then how do they help them make informed decisions when it happens?
So, like you touched a nerve there.
Yeah.
So the kids that are coming out now, so like y'all have a son going to college, right? Like
Yeah.
some of my friends, their kids are going to college like next year. It's insane. I can't even believe we're saying that. We're the generation that got talked to a little bit. We got the financial literacy piece is what we got. We didn't get the other part of it. But what we figured out is like going to get the knowledge, right? Like we might not necessarily know like the super duper ins and outs, but we have enough knowledge to teach our kids. Like number one, sending them off with things you know you needed when you went off, like a bank account, or like instead of doing things for them, like I see a lot of parents like do their kids fast, do it and then teach them how to do it,
Mhm.
because essentially they're going to have to fill out a tax form, or if they take it to a tax preparer, they need to have a person, like when they go back over the person's work, they need to know what to look for. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So as a parent, I feel like they should be teaching them those bare basic things. I should really not, if you have an involved parent, have a kid when I get them as a freshman in college. I believe they should have a bank account. I believe that they should understand or have already been doing like their financial aid stuff, because those are the bare basics. And they also need to be doing their taxes, either knowing who to reach out to do it and what to look for, or how to do your own taxes yourself. So, like that. Um, this is a stretch because we do it at my house. Like, um, Courtney obviously owned a nail shop. So, like, when she was putting together the nail shop, I just did at first. I was like, "What is all this scrub doing around the house?" Like honestly, like I was just like, "This is crazy." You know what I'm saying? And so the girls, I was like, "You got them in slavery, don't you?" Like they in here making scrub, and they're like
Right,
making like cuticle oil, and like, I'm not from that background.
right.
So fast forward, she started them a business. It's called Lovely Sisters. So inside the shop, she sells their products, but the kids make their own products. They make their own label. And so, like today, when I get off the podcast with you, they finna go to work, baby. They finna
That's
bottle
amazing.
this oil and stuff that they made this week, so that tomorrow, when she does her little run or whatever, she can put them in the stores. So, what's the why as a parent? Why are we teaching our kids that? Number one, they already have an idea about money because they talk about it with us, like in terms of what we can buy. They understand like different stuff that I don't, it's just amazing what kids know. Two, they got to see us doing it and then also teaching them, right? So if mom has a business, as mom is running the business, I'm gonna teach you how to run my business so that you know how to run a business when you get out of here. So if you decide that you don't want to go to school or you decide that you don't want to work for somebody, that you do it. The other part of that is I don't want to send my kids with zero out into the world. Like creating generational wealth, you got to have a generation that has it,
Hmm.
right? Like
For sure.
if I am laying the foundation, it will be counterproductive for me not to teach my kids because then what is it going to skip a generation, right? So
Right.
as I'm getting myself prepared, they are too because they're going to be what come behind me. So like we need to be creating that now. And honestly, I'm gonna be real. I was sent out into the world with zero. My mama set my stuff on the porch and said, "Baby, you need to figure it out." Right? And I'm talking about zero monetarily, zero knowledge, and zero goods. So
Just
you know
out
what
there
I'm saying?
surviving. Yeah.
I'm 37 years old and I am just now seeing the fruits of stuff that if I would have been set up for success at 18, I probably wouldn't be working right now just because I've had enough people around me who've taught me enough, but it's just now been able to work for me. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I want my kids not to start at zero. I want them to have something to build on. I love to see my players buy houses and they 22, 23 because they are already creating wealth for themselves at 22, 23. So by the time they my age, the equity and residual income and property that they already obtain, these kids can leave the workforce at 40, 45 years old because they've already got a jump on it, right?
Right.
So I think that parents have to put those foundational pieces there and not depend on the world to teach your kids business. You teach them business. So when they start making money moves, they don't mess up their money and then also that they are not swindled out of their
Hmm.
money.
No, that's real. And whew, that for me is such an important piece of financial education because what happens is people get their kids and now they're 14, 15, 16, and now they're trying to convert some new knowledge and it's like brand new knowledge to them and expect them to be able to go into the world and
Mm-hmm.
figure it out, right? But you have to start as early as possible and like Riley, GJ, Reagan, all of them have businesses when they're 5, 6. In fact, today they're about to do their lemonade stand.
Yeah.
In about an hour from now, they're about to go out there do a lemonade stand. Somebody's on the cashier, somebody's actually running the business, somebody's back there making the lemonade. Like they understand that it takes more. Then when they come back, all right, we're gonna put in the first we're gonna count all of the money, divvy it up. We asked them questions. What do you think you're gonna do with your money? And of course, my GJ would be like, "Hey, I'm about to spend all of it in the next 5 minutes." So we're like, "Okay, so how much money will you have tomorrow?" And just give them make them think about it, right? Let's look at down the road, right? If you spend all this money now, how are we gonna buy more lemonade, right? How are we gonna set up the table? How are we gonna grow this business if you spend your money right now? Right. And so these are the things that kids need to learn. Coach Mo, thank you so much for jumping on again. Uh, I feel like the way that we have a conversation, that this might turn into a whole podcast on its own. So I'm just giving you the heads up. You find an hour out of the week to sit down with me. We're gonna have our own show. I really appreciate having you on. You know, we say on the show, winners win. We win when you win, and we want to thank you for being a winner.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to being a little bootsy to your flag.
I love it. And we are out. Boom. Thank you for joining the podcast. And remember, change your mind, change your money, change your life. We out.